Welcome to this Zoom meeting. My name is Eileen Harvey Qualsett, and I'm one of your vestry members. And today I am absolutely delighted to say that we completed our dean call, and it is my delight to introduce to you our dean-elect, Reverend Matthew Woodard. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you. It's lovely to see you. Thanks, Eileen. Nice to be here.
Good. I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matthew is coming to us from Transfiguration Episcopal Church in San Mateo, and he's been there for, I think, 9 years now.
It's about 9.5 now, yeah.
9.5 years, yes. And so we'd just like to get to know him a little bit and let you get to know him a little bit. Is there anything else about Transfiguration you want to tell us about, or how
you might be able to tell from my accent that I don't come from the US. I'm from England originally, but I have always liked the US and wanted to explore the possibility of ministry here. So I applied for Transfiguration 10 years ago and came out and have been here settling into West Coast life ever since. And now I'm excited to branch out and come and explore Sacramento and be with you all.
That'll be lovely.
Yeah.
So you became a priest while you were in England.
I did, yes. Actually, I was raised Pentecostal. And then as I got older, that tradition didn't seem to be serving the questions I was asking quite as well. And I got into some kind of precocious theological questioning and went to theological college, but migrated from the Pentecostal church to the Baptist church and eventually settled in the Church of England, where I put down roots, was confirmed, and then went and did some more study whilst working at a central London Anglo-Catholic church, a high Anglican church. And that's where I tested my vocation and explored it. And the thing that was wonderful for me was finding liturgical worship as a thing which really fed me. I really love liturgy. I love the variety of the words that we use. I love the different colors and tones. I love that we're not always sunny and joyful, that sometimes we can speak in terms of lament. We can explore every emotion in worship. And I really found that I loved that. And I also found myself to be cared for by loving priests in that tradition. And they helped me through some transitions in life. And then I wanted to give that back. And so that's what really drew me into ministry in the first place. And I did some more theological study at Westcott House in Cambridge, and then was ordained as a deacon. Actually 19 years ago now in St. Paul's Cathedral in London by the then Bishop of London, Richard Charters. And then a year later in my parish church in St. John at Hampstead in North London, I was ordained a priest. Both of them on my mother's birthday.
Oh,
so we share an anniversary and her birthday.
Well, she's very happy about that.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Good. Well, what made you think about discerning a call to Trinity? What was it that excited you or commanded your attention?
I've been serving the people at Transfiguration for 8 or 9 years, and I've really enjoyed that call and loved it. I got to know Trinity about a year and a bit ago when I did some consultancy work with the vestry, spent some time working with you at the beginning of your interim period. And it didn't really occur to me at that point to put my name in for the call itself, but I really loved the conversations that we had. I really loved what we explored. I loved how honest and open the vestry were about the work that they were doing. And I got to see that Trinity was a place that was full of volunteers that were making the cathedral work, that it was a place where people were actively engaged, and that excited me. And so at that point, I didn't explore a call. I left it for a bit. It wasn't quite the right time for me. But then I heard later in the year that you had not called Dean. And then I wondered, oh, is this the right time now? And so I prayed about it and thought about it, and I read your profile, and I found that the things that I got to know in that vestry retreat seemed to shine out for me through the profile. There were some questions you were asking about how to make sure that you were serving all of the people of every age in your community. There were some volunteer opportunities around Stephen's ministry where you care for each other and you share pastoral care with the whole community that I really loved and enjoyed reading about. And also some of your outreach opportunities in the local community, being a cathedral in a city and reaching out and caring for the people around you also really touched me and moved me. I also have to say I'm interested in buildings and what we can do with them to make sure that they are serving the people that come to them. And so some of the questions that you're asking about the cathedral site, the building itself, it interests me to work on that with you and to try and figure out how we can use that space to make sure the love of God is experienced throughout the downtown Sacramento area.
Very, very nice. One of the things that I really appreciated when we were meeting with you and talking with you is that you were interested in having the cathedral be a place for public communication,
Yes.
that we can have public conversations about things that matter. And that really sparked so many of the vestry in our terms of like, oh yes, we have had a bit of a speakers bureau in the past. Well, not a bureau, but a speaker series. And it worked. It was wonderful. We had a lot of positive feedback. So we'd really like to see that ability to draw people into the cathedral and to be of service of a little wider of our community of Sacramento and throughout our diocese. And so we were very excited when that was also part of how you saw your gift to the cathedral of being with us.
Well, coming from England, I've had a model of cathedral as public space and an idea of the cathedral as a place for dialogue in a community. And I would love to see that at Trinity and find ways in, the capital city of the largest state in the Union, which is about the 5th largest economy in the world in its own right, have some public conversation. That would be wonderful. So there's the gathered community of worshippers, but also there's that way in which we can reach out into the world with our particular Episcopalian perspective and share our love and our perspective with the people around us. And I'd love to do that. I think we'd make a great venue for conversation and we'd be good conversation partners.
Wonderful, wonderful. I was also reading in your information that you have some really creative way of working with young people. And I wondered if you wouldn't mind talking for a moment about Faith Lab and the fun thing that you sometimes do with the children's sermons.
Okay, I'm trying to remember which fun thing. Okay, I think I've got what you mean. I got it. So a few years ago, my family minister and I were wrestling with youth programming because a curriculum-based youth program wasn't seeming to address the concerns of the young people at Transfiguration. We weren't getting the kind of engagement that we wanted. And so we sat back and just reflected and asked ourselves, what do we really want this youth program to feel like? And we wanted it to feel like a sparky conversation, a back and forth conversation. We wanted it to feel experimental. We wanted it to feel like the young people could try new ideas out, could explore things. So we decided to call it Faith Lab. And we developed the idea of an emergent curriculum for our young people. So we did away with any written down curriculum and would start each program year with an opportunity for the children to ask us questions. And then at each successive youth event through the year, there'd be a question box and they could put more questions in based on the theme of the day. And they picked the theme for us. And so the idea was to try and stump the rector with a difficult question that was too hard to answer. And they would put their questions in the question box. I'd pull them out and I'd just try and answer them blind, but also try and use those questions as jumping off points to get into conversation. So let me give you an emergent curriculum idea. They were fascinated with gory deaths in the Bible. And so they wanted me to find the goriest death in the Bible. And I can't remember the name of all the characters involved, and I shouldn't have launched into this story without having them all in my head. But there's one where someone has a tent peg hammered through their head, and it's kind of gory. But the children are fascinated. And then we started that conversation and started talking about the ethics of life and death, the ethics of warfare. We started talking about the role of women in church and women in leadership. We started talking about the morality of the various characters in the story. We started talking about their choices, their integrity, their character. And by the end of that session, I was kind of blown away, because the children had explored so many theological ideas and so many ideas around leadership and culture. And it all started because they had this very teenage-centric question. But they were willing to go with the rest of the conversation. And it was really, really moving. The other thing that I like to do, although I haven't done it as much as I would like to do, and I'm hoping to do this a bit more at the cathedral, I'm a puppeteer. That's what you were talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
I have puppets that I love, and I use them to tell Bible stories. I have one puppet called Noah, who looks like a kind of a patriarchal character with like long beard and big fuzzy hair. And I also have lots of animals which come from Noah's Ark. And at various points in the past, I've told many children's stories with these puppets. The reason I haven't done it as much lately is because we raised up a team of storytellers at Transfiguration to tell story to our children. And there were so many of them wanting to like take their turns that I got less of a turn. And so wasn't telling children's stories as much, but I'd love to get back to that.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. So you have a lot of interests that you have. You like, you're very creative. You like to bring new ideas in. Let's see, there was some art that you like to do, relaxation. And what are some of the other things that you like to do?
Well, I draw and I paint in my spare time. And sometimes there's more spare time than others. But I've often attended a life drawing class and loved that. I think life drawing is like learning the scales for a musical instrument, but in terms of art. So it's a great practice to make sure that your hand and your eye remain loose and that you can kind of move with it. And that creativity, I like to be present in church life as well. So I love developing liturgical art for different seasons of the year, figuring out collaborative art projects that my community can do. We've done all sorts of things. We've created banners for the backdrop behind the altar. We've created three-dimensional installations that we've hovered over the sanctuary. We've sent bits and pieces home with people for them to decorate and then bring back and put them into a kind of a collage or put them into a mobile that hangs over the sanctuary. So all kinds of things that have been really fun. Then in personal life, I like to run to keep fit. I also like to cook, although I would say I don't like to cook when I'm made to cook. I like to cook when it's like, it's just time to relax, and like just chopping up onions and browning them, and then like, you know, I'm getting the meat just kind of like perfectly sealed, and then making some kind of sauce up and letting it all simmer. At the end of a day that's been quite busy, I can find it really relaxing and unwind. And I love nothing better than having 2 or 3 friends around my table, a glass of wine and some food together. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
like about all you were thinking.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I hear that you have a new family member.
I do. It's going to be me coming to the cathedral along with River, who is a 6-month-old Australian Shepherd mix that I rescued from the SPCA just a month and a half ago, about 6 weeks ago. She's new to my family. We are getting used to each other. We're working on training. I fully believe that the puppy training which I went to was to train me, not her. And it was virtual online, and it was kind of strange in this shelter-in-place period, but I learned a lot, and she's responding. So I'm looking forward to introducing you to her. She's got a lot of energy at the moment, and she's very sweet. So I hope people are going to get to meet her soon.
Yes, and you'll have a friend probably when she's just a little bit older to run with.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, she does go out with me now, and she does okay. She's pretty fast girl. Yeah,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
Well, um, actually, I also wanted to ask you about how you like to be addressed. You know, some people like Rev, some people call Matthew. You know, there's lots of different ways. Do you have a way that you like?
Well, that's an interesting question for me because I was wondering exactly the same thing in reverse, Eileen. I was wondering what the tradition of the cathedral is. What's their
Well,
normal practice?
first names has
Yeah,
been our normal practice.
yeah,
Um, there's, and I think I told you the funny story of when I first came to Trinity that I knew there was a priest called Dean Baker.
yeah.
And for 3 months, when people would talk about Brian Baker, I had no idea who that was. I only knew Dean Baker.
Okay.
It took me a while to figure out, oh, it was a title. So,
So,
yeah.
Eileen, only one person has deaned me so far. Only one person has addressed me as Dean Woodward in an email, and that kind of floored me a little bit.
Yeah.
It was very new. I'm very happy to be called Matthew. Uh, that's fine if that's a tradition. Some people have the tradition of father, and I'm okay with that, but I do not necessarily prefer it. So just call me Matthew, and that'd be great. Be nice to see everybody and chat to them.
Great. Well, technically, you know, until you are installed, you're dean-elect.
There you go. That's
There
it.
you go, dean-elect, yes. So, but, and we have every expectation that you will be dean. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, very nice. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me tonight to give you an opportunity to sort of talk about yourself with our congregation and to give us a few minutes of your time. I know you're very busy still working full time and getting ready to make this transition.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate so much that this opportunity and that you were willing to discern a call.
Thank you. I am excited to be coming and joining you. Thank you for putting the faith in me, the vestry, for the election. And I look forward to building relationships and getting to know people over the weeks and months to come. Thanks,
Wonderful.
Eileen.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.